I try to remove a lot of meal planning out of my daily life. So that means I eat the same thing every day, pretty much. For
do you ever get
example,
bored by that? I don't know if I could do that.
Oh, I'll get to
day.
that. I'll get to
Oh,
that.
okay. All right. I was like, you.
I'll get to that. Hey, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're the Midlife Guys. So, Andrew, given that we are in the first few weeks of 2026, I wanted to devote today's show to discussing habits. More specifically, I want to talk about creating good habits. So a few weeks ago, we talked about New Year's resolutions and how most men and women over the age of 40 either don't make resolutions or don't stick with them. If you haven't listened to that episode, we will leave a link in the show notes. But one of the reasons that men and women over the age of 40 don't stick or even make New Year's resolutions is they don't want to make a commitment to themselves and then fail on that commitment. So I want to look at this whole topic through a different lens, creating habits. And to be honest, I got this idea because I was recently doing some training with my dog, and the instructor reminded us in the class that we're not there to just produce an outcome. We don't want our dogs to just do something and then get rewarded. We want to teach them repeatedly to do something so that we're building a habit so that they're always doing it. And if you think about it, people are no different.
So we're basically just dogs, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Dogs are great.
They are great. That's true.
So if we train ourselves to do something on a regular basis, then we build a habit. So it's no longer this gimmicky thing like a New Year's resolution, but it actually becomes a part of our daily routine for living. So setting healthy habits is incredibly important in our midlife, as we've discussed multiple times, because once you hit 40, things start to slow down. Our metabolism slows, our cognition slows down, and a lot more. So, Andrew, are you ready to talk about how men and women over the age of 40 can build more healthy habits?
Sure. I think it's a good topic. It's definitely, I like the idea of this lens is taken instead of just like resolutions or how do you build things more consistently. It's actually interesting when you first kind of floated this idea a couple of days ago. I was thinking about it and it reminded me of a concept that, I don't know, a lot of people may be familiar with that definitely stuck with me is the 10,000 hour rule. Did you read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers book? Yeah, I did too. It's a great book and he kind of looks at what makes certain people exceptional and like world class at what they do. And one of his conclusions was that if you spend approximately 10,000 hours on sort of deliberate, dedicated, consistent practice, you will gain world-class skills and expertise. Now, I don't think we're suggesting we do 10,000 hours on all these different habits we're going to talk about, but there's that idea that I think humans do have this trait in which we can kind of train ourselves or we can adjust our lives based on kind of setting up good habits. So I'm definitely excited to kind of explore this some more and see where we go.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in.
Okay, let's do it.
So I want to kick off this discussion by citing a paper that was published by Stanford University's School of Medicine. The paper was published on January 7th, 2026.
Ooh.
So it's brand new. Brand new. Paper.
Breaking news
brand here. New. Absolutely. And before we dive too deep into this, Andrew and I are not doctors. We're not medical professionals. We know. All we wanted to do, as is the case with all of these podcasts, is to create a space in which we open the door for conversation. And so we're going to share a lot of our personal experiences backed up by the research from this paper in the hopes that it may inspire some of you or spark conversations as to what has worked for you all so that you can share that experience with our other listeners. But in this paper, there was a paragraph that really stuck out to me. Midlife also offers a critical window of opportunity when it comes to health habits. The choices you make in your 40s and 50s have an outsized impact on your quality of life in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. You still have plenty of time to slow the aging process and keep preventable health problems at bay. The paper goes on to cite 5 key areas that those of us in our 40s and 50s need to focus on. The first, prioritizing exercise to protect muscle and bones. Second, eating a balanced diet. Third, protecting your sleep and recovery. Fourth, monitoring your health before problems arise. And 5, managing stress and staying social. So we've talked about some of these.
Jump in for a second, though, just real quick. I was going to say, this is a positive note. I feel like sometimes we can be a little bit down on being in midlife, or like our bodies fall apart, as you were alluding to earlier. And just, I know we're going to put this in the show notes for the study, but I'd certainly encourage everyone to read it. I went through and read it, and it was actually, I took a lot of positives from it, that we still can make changes that can improve our lives. And it reminded me a little bit of our conversation with our friend Braxton a couple weeks ago, where we were talking about like, oh, geez, the decisions we make earlier in life kind of set us on a path that we can't really fix. And so this was a nice, I think, a nice counterbalance to that thought about, oh, maybe we're kind of stuck, when it seems like we're not stuck at all. So I'm all here for the positivity of trying to make some good changes, but just wanted to throw that out there as we kick this off.
No, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because the study actually is very positive. I mean, it reminds us that we do have time to make positive changes in our lives by building healthier habits.
Yep.
So that we can spend our golden years enjoying them more. So the retirement's more fun.
There you go.
So we've talked about some of these topics in previous episodes, but we did so in the context as to why they were important. Not how to integrate them into your daily routine so that they become habits. So, that's what we want to talk about today. So I think in order to motivate our audience, we should dive into some of the research, and explain how we personally have integrated some healthy habits, and in the hope that encourages you all to share your stories. So let's start by prioritizing the exercise and protecting muscle topic. Starting around the age of 40, you begin losing about 1% of your muscle mass every year. And that rate continues to increase in your 50s.
So not great.
No. But wait, there's positive.
Okay.
The loss of muscle, called sarcopenia, directly impacts your strength, balance, metabolism, and independence. But exercise can slow or even reverse this decline. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services recommends cardio exercises every day, and at least 2 days devoted to strength building. That can include lifting weights, doing push-ups, squats, anything that helps build muscle. But the point is, you should be doing these things to the point of fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting fatigued, you're just kind of in this holding pattern, essentially. You're not actually growing muscle. You're just keeping what you've got.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, I would love to hear your thoughts about this recommendation for exercising and protecting muscle and bone health, as well as how you have created a healthy habit of exercising regularly.
Let's try to, at the very least, create that healthy habit.
We all just try.
I know, right? It's interesting. I think exercise, and this is something I probably came into in my like mid-ish to late 30s, about the importance of exercise. I feel like when you're younger, your metabolism is always high. You're sort of active as it is. That it wasn't, at least for me, something I focused on. And so I do think exercise is important. It's something in the past couple of years I've prioritized, and it's something you mentioned from the Department of Health and Human Services too, is I used to do a lot of just like cardio. So I just run a lot, and then realized as I got a little bit older that it's better to mix that in with strength training, do other types of cross training. And so that's what I've tried to do more of, and have found it to be really, really helpful for me. I'll say too, when I exercise, I like to do that in the morning, like really early in the morning, kind of the first thing I do when I get up if I can. That's typically when I have time to do it. I also just noticed myself, like, I feel better after I do a workout in the morning. I've got more energy throughout the day. I'm just in a better mood. So I think that there is some correlation between staying active and just other parts of your body as well, and just kind of your mood and whatnot. Um, I was interested too in what you had mentioned about fatigue, which was kind of curious. It reminded me of when I first started wanting to get more into exercise a couple of years ago, and I went to a gym and worked with a trainer for a month or two just to kind of get a better sense of how to use all the weights and make sure I'm using the machines correctly and not hurting myself, because I would be that person who does hurt themselves because they don't know what they're doing. But the trainer early on, she said something that was really interesting and that stuck with me, the idea of fatigue. She said that at the end of an exercise, you need to be tired. And if you're not tired, that means you need to increase the number of reps of what you're doing, or you need to increase the amount of weight that you're putting on yourself. But the point is that your muscles do need to be tired to kind of to grow and to get stronger and better. So I think that definitely at least kind of tracks with my experience in terms of exercising. I guess the final thing I'll mention,
everything you just said can be summarized by no pain, no gain.
There you go. I like it.
all.
Shorten it up, make it tougher. Yes. But speaking of the kind of the no pain, no gain, that's what I was going to say is nice about exercise as well, is that it's something that you can kind of do anywhere, right? Like there are so many great body weight exercises. You don't have to like get a gym membership or buy a bunch of expensive equipment or weights. There are tons of, helpful resources online that are free or inexpensive. Again, lots of body weight moves you can do. So I do think like incorporating exercise into a consistent thing is something that midlifers can and should do if they're not. And it's, I think, a relatively easy thing to kind of get on board with. I think it's going to look like different things for different people, but just making that a priority or making that habit, I definitely agree with.
So, I will say that this particular issue really hits home for me. And I was thinking about it even more before we started taping, from two different angles. First is my dad and both of his parents have always been very active individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They were always very active individuals, but it was all cardio. It was always jogging. It was always doing some sort of cardio centric exercise. I don't think I ever saw my grandparents or him lift a weight ever. And I look at my dad now, and he is just, his mobility is very limited. That happened to both of my grandparents. Their mobility just fell to pieces. They ended up with broken hips left and right, just because they were just doing cardio. There was absolutely no muscle work or weightlifting or anything like that they ever did. And they slowly just, kind of
they shrunk. I mean, people do shrink over time, right?
Like, they did. They did. I mean, they just
don't keep your muscles up.
They just kind of became skeletons at the end, which was sad. I mean, and from a personal perspective, why this hits home is like, so in my late 20s, to be honest with you, I was in an incredibly stressed out place. Andrew and I had just started our company, and there was so much uncertainty that I was just incredibly stressed. And to compensate for that stress, I ate and drank way too much. So, and I'm only 5'10", and at one point I'd gotten up to 265 pounds, which is incredibly obese for my height. And now I'm fortunate in that I have a number of resources available to me, like a great primary care team, a gym, nutritional folks as part of the primary care team who started helping me navigate this stuff even before I hit 40. So I'm very fortunate about that. I know a lot of people don't have those resources, but it got to the point where my doctor started driving home to me. Is like, you have got to make some fucking changes, and you got to make them now, because this is outrageous. You need to change your diet. You need to start exercising. And he said, like, if you don't start now, it's going to be much, much harder for you down the road. So it was a real wake-up call for me. So I tried out a number of different ways in order to make exercise a part of my daily routine or start building it in as a habit. I started out with a very small thing by getting an Apple Watch. I still have an Apple Watch. Keeps track of the calorie burn and how much time I'm spending exercising on any given day. I tried a lot of different things. I tried one-on-one training. I tried group classes. I tried joining friends at the gym during their workouts. And there were components of each thing that I liked. And as a quick aside, one of my trainers and spin instructors, Vivian, who has become a devoted listener to our podcast,
Oh,
and will
thank
text me
you. That's great. Yes. Although real
So
quick, can we
thank you,
throw
Vivian.
back to did going to the gym with friends work? Because I remember our very first episode, you went on a long rant about how you don't like to talk to people at the gym.
No,
So I
it
guess
did
that
not
didn't
work.
stick. Okay, but other stuff did, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I figured out the process that works for me.
Right.
And it's not going to be the same process for
Yeah.
everybody. I found that I'm actually a pretty self-motivated person when it comes to just doing exercises. So I don't necessarily need to go to a group class or,
Mhm.
have a specific time or person to like cheer me on. I know that I need to go, and so I will do it. But I needed the right mix to what we were talking about earlier, the right mix of workouts. So
Yeah.
stretching, we talked about the stretching. Good Lord, I needed the stretching.
Especially as
I
you get
also,
older, that is so important
yes.
now. Yeah.
Well, hell, I regret that I didn't stretch more when I was younger
That's
because
probably
I think
fair.
that would have really helped. But also the right mix between actually doing the CrossFit stuff that I do, which is very weight and body weight heavy, in addition to the cardio workouts that I do. So all of that has been incredibly helpful because I lost a ton of weight, built up a lot of muscle. I still have a long ways to go.
But you're a
So,
testament that if you stick with it, it works. Like, I mean, really, it does. Yeah.
well, I think it's more of a testament to trying different things. And I hope that's one of the things that our listeners take away from this is that don't give up just because you don't like going to a group class or, you don't know what the right or you don't have access to a gym. Even going for a walk or just doing some push-ups can go a long way. So it's figuring out what works for you. Cause I mean, I have a ton of friends that love going to Orange Theory Fitness and they'll go, every other day and they love the group aspect. That's not me. That's not me.
Right.
If it works for them, awesome. You got to find the program that works for you because it's important. It is so important. Because one of the other things that I found while doing this research, we talked about gym culture in a previous episode and how, older millennials, we tend to be healthier. But there's some red flags that are starting to appear as well. First off, our generation apparently has much higher rates of high blood pressure than our parents did. Yet to be determined as to what the cause of that might be. It could be diet, but that's still a red
Stress.
flag.
Yeah.
Stress. It could be stress, but that's still a red flag.
Yeah.
Also, one of the other things that just came out was talking about that a lot of older millennials, younger millennials, Gen Z are prioritizing nothing but weightlifting. They're not doing any cardio at all. It's which is not healthy, which is also leading to heart health issues in younger people too. So that's another thing. So, but I feel like once you get in the habit of finding an exercise routine that works for you, you can like build it into your daily life so that it is a habit. But I'm curious as to our listeners, what they've done that's worked. How have you built it into a habit rather than a daily chore? Please share your thoughts.
Any tips, love tips on how to incorporate it more or what you've done? Yeah.
Yes. So, second topic is the balanced diet. So, this is a topic that we've touched on before, but we didn't really get that deep into it. So, what you eat now directly influences your risk for chronic diseases, such as heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, conditions that often start developing silently in your 40s and 50s. Um, so, some key takeaways from that Stanford report include eating more protein, especially lean protein, so that's not high in fat content, increasing the amount of fiber that you have in your diet, and controlling portion sizes. So, for the protein, you need 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. It's a lot. It's a lot if you think about it. Um, so, that's where protein shakes can come in handy. So for fiber, 25 to 31 grams daily from vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes. This definitely helps with cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, and let's get real, it also helps you take a better shit. Um, so for portion sizes, midlifers need to focus on these food groups that I just mentioned, not the complex carbohydrates, and don't add a whole bunch of shit to your diet. So, Andrew, what do you think? What do you think about the protein and fiber intake every day, and how have you integrated that into a healthy habit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that complex carbohydrates taste better a lot of the time. It's unfortunate that no, I mean, I'll be honest, this is something is the exercise I felt like when I kind of gave myself a plan and followed through on it, like I definitely been able to that's been a good habit I've been able to keep for an extensive period of time. The diet thing is tougher for me. Like I'll make progress and feel like I'm doing a great job, and then I'll fall off the wagon for a little bit and regress and then try to get back on. So it's just something about like the eating habits has definitely been more challenging for me at least, and to make sure that I'm eating healthier. I know, especially, I think some of the things you mentioned that resonate with me are portion control and then focusing on those whole foods or whole fruits and vegetables, the whole grains, like that type of stuff, I think is what I'm trying to prioritize, putting more of that, into my diet and focusing really a lot more heavily on that. It is, yeah, it's challenging though. I will say for me to try to stick with it, but it's, a habit I'm going to try to make. It's something I found a reason that's been kind of helpful for me. And again, I'll preface with not a doctor, so medical advice, and this isn't medical advice, but if you're looking at nutritional plans or medical advice, you should talk to a doctor or a nutritionist about that. But I've been kind of experimenting with Chat GPT to help create some like meal plans, just come up with different ideas or recipes or ways to try to, incorporate healthier lean proteins or fruits and veggies and whole grains into meals. And I thought it's been kind of a helpful way for me to do it, because I'll ask it some questions, say, come up with some meal ideas, or some meal plans. I'm like, I do like this, I don't like this, find something different or interesting. Then I'll ask for like a shopping list and meal prep ideas and like a schedule, and things like that are really helpful to kind of keep me on track. So I'd be curious if others have used kind of ChatGPT or Gemini or other AI services to help with kind of like thinking about meals and eating healthier and doing meal prep. Um, so that's been kind of helpful so far, and sort of been getting me back on track with the more balanced diet. Also, the other thing that I've done that has helped me is drinking a lot of water. So first of all, you just need to stay hydrated in general. I think that's an important thing, and we don't drink enough water. And man, it's funny. We're talking with some midlife friends last week, and we were all joking about how growing up as kids, like my kids today, all they do is really drink water. Like that's all they have around them. But growing up as kids, I felt like all I did was drink soda. Which, looking back on it, like that's kind of gross. That's what everyone did, right? So just that's what we all did. We didn't really drink water that much. We drank soda or juice or what. So I'm glad that future generations are on the water train. But I think as in midlife now, definitely drinking more water is important, not just to stay hydrated, but I think it also does help keep you fuller. So if I drink a bunch of water if I'm a little bit hungry, then that kind of, tamps down that hunger a little bit. So those have been two things that I've found to be kind of helpful on the balanced diet front. What about you, Mike? What are some of the things that you've done?
So, before I talk about my personal experience, I do want to commend you, because one of the things that your eldest has been doing for whatever reason, it just snapped, and that he now wants to have more fruits and vegetables as
He
part of his
does,
daily
yeah.
as part of his daily meal plan, which I think is great, and you're
So shout out
encouraging
to
that.
him. Yeah.
Yes, but you talked about when we were kids drinking a lot of soda.
Yeah.
Here's a 9-year-old who's like, no, I want to have like carrots and grapes
Yeah.
and strawberries and all this stuff as part of my meal instead of having chips and stuff. So that's great.
That is good. Yeah, that's true. So there's hope in the younger generation.
Yes, you're building a healthy habit for them at a young age.
That's right. Yeah.
So from a personal perspective, as I mentioned in the first block, I'm very fortunate to have a team of people who have helped me on the nutritional side of things. That's not to say I don't indulge. I even overindulge sometimes with beer.
Don't we all?
And to be honest, I do love cooking in theory, but cooking also takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I try to remove a lot of meal planning out of my daily life. So that means I eat the same thing every day, pretty much. For
do you ever
example,
get bored by that? I don't know if I could do that every day.
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, you.
I'll get to that. So for example, every morning I eat 12 ounces of blackberries and egg whites scrambled with onions every morning. For lunch, I have a mixed green salad with chicken. That's it. That's what I have 95% of the time, unless I'm traveling. And even then, I usually try to eat the same.
I would be judging you a lot more harshly if you hadn't mentioned the whole like obesity health scare about 20 minutes ago. I just want you to know. Like, this is like psychopath behavior unless you know the backstory. So thank you for opening up and giving us that context.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that, but that's true.
Okay. So it wasn't an easy transition. I talked to my nutritionist at length about what was going to work. And, we created a meal plan that worked for me by starting out with things that I liked. So, for example, I love eggs. I've always loved eggs. Even since I was a little kid, loved eggs. My mom always jokes that she knew exactly what I wanted for breakfast on the weekends because I just wanted eggs. So my nutritionist was like, well, just integrate eggs, but take out the yolks. Just focus on the egg whites. I know people disagree about that, but that's not the point here. And I was able to integrate one of my favorite foods into an everyday meal. I had the onions because it's another vegetable, and I like onions. So for the blackberries, one of the things that was apparent in my annual blood test was that my vitamin C levels were low. That just happens naturally as we age. And blackberries offer kind of a 1-2 punch with a ton of vitamin C as well as fiber. I've also been a fan of chicken since I was a kid, not roasted chicken because my mom knew how to kill a fucking chicken. Jesus Christ, she would dry the fucking thing to death. So cooked chicken, but add a little spice to it. Love a little spice to the chicken. So there's the lean protein as well as the nutrients from the salad itself. So I think that's, you got to start with the things that you like. That doesn't mean chocolate, but you can start with certain foods that you like to eat,
right.
And that makes it easier to transition to eating, if you want to eat the same thing, if you want to follow me. Yet again, I'm not a nutritionist, so do whatever you all want to do. But integrating those nutrient-rich or protein-rich items to your diet, and discard of everything else when possible.
Yeah,
I'm not saying if you love chocolate, go ahead and eat chocolate in moderation, or you have a favorite snack, I'm not telling you what or what not to eat. I just want to share what is a very personal experience as someone who is not a nutritionist, but has had some success in creating a habit out of cleaner eating. I'm not perfect. I still have a lot of work to do on this front. But I think as midlifers, we need to strive to eat healthier and make it part of our daily routine, make it a habit.
Yeah, I think
Well, what
that's
about our
true.
listeners? What about our listeners? What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Have you been able to adjust your diet? Do you want to eat the same thing every day like me? If
I
not,
wouldn't know how many people would eat the same thing every day. There's
hey,
hey,
you know
you
what?
could have a contingency out there or a group that's
Yeah. I mean,
although one
it's just easier for me.
hey, and that's a completely reasonable position to take. I think the easy part, because that is, I feel like, a hang up for a lot of people. I know, at least with me, it is sometimes too. It's just like the thought of having to make everything to keep it healthy feels like a lot of time and can get kind of stressful. So, I mean, using weekends to do meal prep, or as I said, I use kind of like some AI tools to help like figure out how to make little cuts in time or kind of put stuff together quicker. But one thing you said that I just wanted to ask your thoughts on too, because I do think, the goal of trying to eat healthier and having a balanced diet is great. We also need to be careful of like, I think jumping onto fads, like you mentioned the importance of protein earlier, which I agree is definitely something probably more of, like less of the complex carbohydrates and more protein. But I also would just caution folks not to just eat stuff because it has added protein. I feel like it's the thing I see all the time now is everything has protein added to it or this or that. And it was funny. I was at the store and looking at like granola bars that was like protein enriched. And I looked at the back and I looked at the ingredients and like the sugar content, other stuff in there. I'm like, this is basically just a candy bar that like they're calling something else. So I do think it's, it's important to also just be cognizant or, take a close look at what it is that you're consuming, because just, and the protein thing is just all over the place right now. It drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't think everything doesn't need a protein boost.
The fucking protein chips, the protein potato chips, or the protein Doritos.
Yeah.
I'm like, these things carry like 500% of your daily value of sodium. I'm like, that's not helping you at all.
No.
It's outrageous. Yeah, I think that good point. Thank you for bringing that up. But yes, I want to hear from our audience members as to what's worked with you. Yet again, this podcast is here to create a positive space where midlifers can share their experiences, what works and what doesn't work, because you never know who reads your comments, and you could really help somebody out that you may never meet. So with that, we have blown through 30 minutes. We try to keep these episodes to 30 minutes. We've blown through them. We all know you've got busy lives. So we're going to talk about the last 3 focus areas from that Stanford paper in next week's episode.
Yep.
So be sure to tune in and tell your friends. If you've not done so already, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us a lot. Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, and all your favorite podcasting platforms. And until next week, good luck, guys.
Thanks, everybody.